Alright, cooking lessons starring Ed Gein, aka the Plainfield Butcher. Ed has inspired the following films, such as the entirety of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and trilogy, the movie Psycho, Motel Hell, the Bates Motel series, Silence of the Lambs, and much more. And you'll see why. Meet your chef. Born on August 27, 1906 in La Crosse, Wisconsin, his childhood was quite abusive. He had an older brother named George. However, his father died during Ed's very young age, so he was quite not a factor. However, he was extremely sheltered by his dominant mother. His mom, Augusta locked Ed in their farmhouse until he was about 12 years old, in which he was let out to roam the property and usually work on the property until his late 20s. He had little to no contact with the outside civilization, so he was just locked in his property and he was not allowed to leave. And his mother practically brainwashed Ed to believing that every human, especially women, outside of their fence and gates were corrupted by Satan or possessed by demons. His childhood life was he grew up quite as a nice and genuine kid, as any child would be. However, the only female figure in his life was his mother until he was about 35 years old. He grew up with his brother, however they weren't really that close or played games or had much of a relationship because it was quite the distraction from God, assumably. He enjoyed normal childlike activities such as dissecting mice, gutting pigs and chicken, torturing and killing farm animals, and he one time even put a goat in a barrel full of nails and rolled it down a hill. So that's quite the ingredients to make a quite nice butcher at a very young age. Life logistics. His mental disorders were composed of severe antisocialness because of how he was raised by his mother, dissociative personality disorder or split personality, and he was also a psychopath. However, he never received treatment until his post-conviction. He had no friends, he was not married, and had no kids. He had no formal education, and could barely read. His talents and skills were included of cutting, butchering, chainsawing random stuff, and he was also quite a fan of arts and crafts, such as making furniture, utensils, and lampshades. The juicy info. Alright, his mother died on December 29th, 1945, when Ed was age 39. That left him with just his brother. Ed soon murdered his brother, though, on May 16th, 1945, after an argument that led Ed to hit him in the back of the head with a hammer and light him on fire in a cornfield. Ed struggled to make ends meet. He went to town in Plainfield to work to obviously make money and buy food and practically live. He did odd jobs, tinkered, and helped around people in Plainfield. He was actually fairly well liked amongst the people in Plainfield, despite his odd personality. While after his mother's death, Ed kept her body in the same original room she died in as a sort of shrine, that was when Ed first touched the skin of his own mother, finally realizing what he has been missing his entire life: a mother's touch. He became obsessive over her skin. He started with skinning animals, but it didn't fulfill his craving. Some were too rough, some were too thin, too dark, too thick, too thin, and much more. It needed to be human skin. He started to rob graveyards of freshly new corpses. Ed took them to his farm, in which he would personally skin the bodies for his pleasure. He created lampshades, couch covers, bed cushions from skulls, bowls from craniums, curtains, rugs, and decorations, and much more. However, his biggest project was his plan to make a full-body suit made from the skin of women, as a sort of costume. Ed experimented before, and he didn't really like the texture of dead skin, so he needed it to be fresh. He stated in his conviction and trial that he liked the skin to be warm and fuzzy, and which reminded him of his mother's skin right when she passed away. Murders. As a result, Ed Gein murdered Mary Hogan on December 8th, 1954, and Bernice Worden on November 16th, 1957. Ed shot and killed graveyards keeper Mary and decapitated her head and skinned the body to make the costume. Bernice was lured by Ed into his property, in which Ed skinned her alive for his pleasure. However, he did shoot her and fatally decapitate her upside down after it was being too messy of a project and was quite too tedious. However, his motive, while doing little side things with the skins he collected from his victims, he was in the midst of making a much bigger project, the bodysuit. Made from the full skin of his 2 murder victims, including genitals, hair, and teeth. Why, you may ask? Wearing the skin of the woman made him consciously believe that he was his own mother. Due to his later diagnosed split personality disorder, one of which being Ed Gein and the other being his own mother. He just simply wanted to become his mom. Capture. After being the last one spotted at Bernice's hardware shop, police had enough evidence to check his property, in which they saw quite the overwhelming evidence. They found several hanging bodies on meat hooks, severed heads, remains and body pounds scattered all over the house as decoration and furniture, such as masks, belts, chairs, bedposts, bowls, curtains, and much more. And if you look in the bottom left picture, that's an actual photo from the crime scene of a dead body hanging upside down. However, it was too graphic for this presentation, so I simply put a cartoon filter over it. You can access the full photo online if you desire. His conviction. Authorities had quite overwhelming evidence for an arrest. However, he did cooperate and confess to murdering 2 women and robbing the graves of 15. He was sentenced to life and recovery at Mendota Mental Health Institute on November 16, 1957, in which that is where he spent his entire life until he died on July 26, 1984 at age 77.